Welcome to The Read Along,
a mini book club for your ears.
I'm your host, Scott.
I'm your other host, Anita.
And join us on a journey through a good book,
one chapter at a time.
Do you like talking about movies? Do you like talking about mediocre movies? Do you like talking about how you could have fixed mediocre movies? Well, I certainly do, and you can listen to me, Scott C. Bourgeois, along with my co-hosts Greg Beaver and Liam Creswick, as we give our notes, and I have some notes. You can follow it now on your podcatcher of choice, or support it by visiting patreon.com/IHaveSomeNotes. Coming up on another long weekend at the time of recording.
Hooray!
Gonna be spending the week doing some cleaning around the house.
We're gonna be so busy.
Yeah, preparing for relatives to come and invade.
Yeah, we're hosting Easter Sunday this year at our house. And so we need to clean and prep and decorate and hide eggs and all of those other fun Easter-y things that we do.
This is our first time doing this.
Well, it's not our first time hosting like a family holiday dinner.
No, last year was our first year, full year in the new house.
Yes.
And we dipped our toes into some tentative hosting to feel things out.
See if we could do it.
Yeah, this is the first time we're doing a full-fledged thing.
Well, it's the first time we're doing
Thanksgiving.
Easter.
Yeah.
You did Thanksgiving almost entirely without me.
Yeah, that was stressful.
I was working, unfortunately, and Halloween. You did Halloween without me as well, working the same problem.
Yeah, well, maybe be a little more prepared this year and also maybe a little less ambitious.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how things go.
Yeah, we're handling Easter this year. And with any luck, the weather will hold out and our backyard will be dry enough to do an Easter egg hunt for the kids. It was all ice and slush up until very recently. So
yeah, we got a little bit of a late snowfall that buried everything again.
That is a very polite way to call that enormous snow dump we got.
But it has been nice the last couple weeks, and most of it is gone. Almost all of it. There's only a very little bit of snow left. Should be good.
Yes.
Should be good to go.
I hope so.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. But with that said, we'll give you a recap on how things went next week. But this week, we have a book to talk about.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So we should begin with a brief recap of our previous chapter, chapter 12 of our novel, in which Dani has two unpleasant meetings in one day.
This is her life lately.
Yeah, the first is with Agent Sharp, the FBI agent who was directly responsible for her betrayal of her mother.
Yep.
Who has turned back up and is now sticking his nose in this big art auction because he's one of the mucky mucks with the FBI's anti-art theft squad.
Yep.
And the second is with Archer himself, who just shows up unannounced in her house when she gets back home later.
Oh, he's just so creepy.
He's creepy, and he kind of makes a weird pass at her, and
he's just super gross and wrong all the way around.
Drips a few more hints about what's going on, but never outright explains much.
Blech.
And that leads us into chapter 13. Lucky number 13 of The Frame Up by Gwenda Bond. So Dani sets to painting.
Yes, she is running out of time to get this forgery done.
Yeah.
So she needs to get on that.
Yeah, and due to the nature of her magic, it doesn't need to be perfect, but due to the nature of her training,
her upbringing, yeah.
She wants it to be as perfect as possible. She's impressed with the quality of the materials that the curator managed to obtain for her. It all appears to be period appropriate, up to and including the paints, and she's very surprised she was able to obtain those. She sets up in her old studio, which is like an old disused bomb shelter out behind the house.
Yeah, it has a very bunkerish feel to it, you know?
I kind of get it. Back in the day when she was running with her mom's crew, it was like an out-of-the-way space where she could privately work without distraction, while the rest of them were probably busy doing stuff in the house.
Well, that, and it was a hidden space where even if they got caught, she would still be hidden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't do a forgery out in public.
Yeah. So she admits it's maybe not the perfect space because of the lack of natural light.
Yeah.
But it is a good place.
Yeah.
even when they were raided after the betrayal, it wasn't discovered.
No.
So all of her like old stuff is still there.
Exactly. That's why it's a good, safe, quiet, secret-y place.
Yeah. So she goes about tidying up the space and getting it set up and prepped, and then realizes she's going to need a little bit more in the way of supplies that weren't provided by the curator. But before she can go, she pops her head out of the bunker to find that there's a trunk there, which apparently was dropped off by Elliott, and it has all the stuff that she would have needed to go out and get. So basically, Mia, knowing what she needed, probably told Elliott. He went and picked it up, saw she was working down in the bunker, getting it set up, and just quietly dropped it off so as not to disturb her. And she has kind of like mixed emotions about that. But the good news is now doesn't need to run out. She can just set to work that day getting it done.
Yeah.
In the trunk, however, in addition to supplies, is also her favorite t-shirt.
Well, okay. Her favorite t-shirt from when she was a kid.
Yeah.
That she left with Elliott the night she, ran off.
Yeah.
Expecting him to come with her. And he didn't show up. And so neither did her t-shirt.
Yeah.
And now he's giving it back.
So after 10 years, he still has the t-shirt and he's giving it back. And she doesn't know how to read this.
Well, at first she reads it with hope and excitement. She describes it as a little sun, like the light inside her, some sunshine. And then she thinks about it for a moment and goes, wait, no. If he wanted to give this back with any kind of sentimentality, he would have said something. There would be words exchanged. He just gave her t-shirt back. That's what she lands on. The message here is, here's your shirt back.
What she fails to consider, though, which I would like to point out, is that he did keep it for 10 years.
Yep.
And if it really meant nothing, he probably would have gotten rid of it.
I agree.
So, and Dani actually also mentions she still has one of his t-shirts. And she's like, it's somewhere buried at the bottom of some trunk or something. And I think she doth protest too much.
Scott brought this up the other day after he had read the chapter about the t-shirt. How she's like, oh, it's in the bottom of a suitcase somewhere. And he's like, she knows exactly where it is. She knows exactly where that suitcase is. She knows where this shirt is. And I was like, yeah, obviously.
Yep. But that's all at the back of mind at the moment because
Yes.
she has to focus in and get to work on Archer's portrait. And so she begins.
This is cool because we get to see Dani's magic in action.
Well, we get to see her process in action. We don't get to see her magic in action.
You know what I mean?
Because her magic is separate from her actual skill as an artist. And we get to see her actual process as an artist here. And she puts in the effort. Like she attempts to use the same kind of techniques that a person in that time period would be using. She is putting in the extra work here so that she's not exclusively relying on her magic, which is her intention.
Yeah, exactly.
She's also getting skeeved out by the painting.
Right?
Yep.
Right? Like, it's this interesting description that she goes through talking about it, how she can feel, like, her magic flowing, right? And how time is rushing by as she's losing herself in what she's doing. But there's also this underlying darkness
to
it
which
that
is
she knows
something-
is coming from the source, right?
And she's also unfamiliar with that aspect of it because that's unique to the material she's painting.
Yes. So it's an interesting combination of her old familiar magic that still feels wrong, right? Like it's, yeah.
It's funny, we watched a movie just this past weekend
Yes.
called The Maiden Heist, which is 2004. It stars Morgan Freeman and Christopher Walken and William H. Macy.
Yes.
And they're guys who work at a museum who are all obsessed with a particular work of art.
Yeah, they're 3 museum guards
Yeah.
who have each become obsessed, like freakishly obsessed with a particular piece.
And they decide when the whole collection is getting moved that they're going to try to steal these pieces for themselves because they
Yes.
can't bear to be without them. And they hit upon making forgeries. And the forgeries are all very good, but they all keep talking about how it's just not the same. They don't have that magic. They're missing a certain aura
like
or
it's
something.
just this one. There's just no glow to it. There's no passion. There's no et cetera, et cetera.
And they rightly hit upon like they just have to be good enough forgeries for people who aren't us, who are so intimately familiar with this art. And it actually did make me think of Dani and her magic. Her ability is that it adds that little something that they can recognize.
Yeah.
In the art.
She captures that je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
Right? That an expert, someone who is intimately familiar with every little detail of the work, something that they would recognize, that your average person wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like your average art appreciator would stand there and look at a lovely piece and go, yes, this piece is lovely, and carry on with their lives, as opposed to someone who has scrutinized it.
Indeed.
Right? Who understands the passion inside it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So it just, the movie connected to the book in an interesting way for me. And I thought I would bring it up here.
Yeah.
Eventually, Dani starts to get tired. Like, time has sped by. She's made a lot of progress, but, like, her hands are getting cramped up. Her vision is getting blurry. Like, she's been at it for a while.
She's like, I need to take a break.
So she hits upon going and actually confronting Elliott about what's going on with this T-shirt.
Yeah.
So she makes an unannounced trip over to the rabbit hutch.
Before she goes, I genuinely wonder, and I wrote it in my notes, what would have happened, do you think, if she'd kept painting? Because there was comments about how, like, the darkness was getting closer as she was getting to the part of the portrait where she would have to do Archer's face.
Maybe
right?
we'll find out when she actually paints that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I was a little worried for her, and I was glad she took a break, because what if? Right? What if the darkness got her? Anyway, sorry. So yes. So she heads over to Rabbit's house.
She heads over to the rabbit hutch and just lets herself in. She is like, you know what? Everybody's been walking into my house, and we're all supposed to be on the same team. I'm just going to assume that I'm welcome, and goes on in. As she arrives, she notices that Rabbit's truck is there, and also the Mercedes that Elliott was driving.
Right.
But not Mia's Mini.
Correct.
Interestingly. So she assumes that means that Elliott will probably be there.
Well, yeah, that and Mia probably parks in the barn because she didn't see the car the first time she went to Rabbit's place. So,
well, we find out later Elliott's not actually there and didn't have the Mercedes with him. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But
does that mean it's not the same Mercedes?
It's possible. Who knows? Or maybe he just got another way to get to where he needed to go, because he calls her at the end of the chapter and he's not there.
And he's not there. Just because she calls it a silver Mercedes, she didn't say it was the same one, did she?
We know that, in fact, we find out exactly whom Elliott borrowed the Mercedes from. So it's possible it's a different Mercedes she mistook for Elliott's.
Yes.
That's actually very true.
That's very true.
Because when she lets herself in, assuming that Elliott's there, she discovers, in fact, that Mia and Rabbit are in the middle of a conversation with none other than Brenner.
Yeah.
And that Brenner's the one who lent Elliott the Mercedes in exchange for a favor. And he's come to call on that favor, basically.
Yeah. Apparently, the currency of the thieving art world is all favors.
Yeah, you do me a solid, I do you a solid.
Yeah. I'll owe you, I've done this for you. Yeah.
Yeah, Dani's actually a little flattered that Rabbit and Mia are both kind of standing up for her behind her back here.
Yeah.
Because they're both, like, telling Brenner, no, you don't get to go and drag Dani into this and ask her a thing. And Dani kind of just waltzes into the room and is like, well, why don't he just ask me to my face what's going on? Brenner's like, okay, cool, here's the deal. I'm helping you guys with whatever scheme you guys are up to. You guys help me. I'm after a particular painting. I just need you to make sure that security's back is turned when I'm there to steal it.
More or less.
Yeah, he basically lays out he's not working with the evil twins, or at least he claims he's not working with the evil twins. And he claims he's not working at cross purposes with Dani and her crew. He wants a particular, very valuable painting.
Which Dani is able to pinpoint for him.
Yeah, she makes an educated guess, and he's impressed. But again, he might also not be honest here. And he does basically suggest in this moment the evil twins are specifically looking for Archer's painting.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to be in your way, not like the twins. And we're like, okay, so we now know the twins are going to be in the way.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, and again, Brenner might be. He's a thief. We don't know he's being honest.
Really, and honestly, between you and I, honestly, nobody around here is particularly trustworthy, are they?
Rabbit, in this exchange, suggests she's in more debt with Brenner than just for the car. And Brenner's kind of implying, like, look, this is a big enough score. You help me out here. We're square, as far as I'm concerned. Rabbit doesn't want to get Dani mixed up in this, but Dani's kind of like, the least I can do is tell him that I'll look at what I can do. She doesn't make any hard promises here. She's just like, I'll see what I can do. Brenner's fine with that. He does make kind of like a veiled threat, like, well, if you don't help me out, maybe I will be in your way. And Rabbit's like, you're out. and he's like, okay, I'm
bye.
out.
Yep. And Mia comes to her defense.
Yep.
Like the whole time, because he gets a little catty and
'cause-
insulting. He calls her a turncoat and,
yeah.
and that kind of stuff. Mia's like, listen, you want her help? You show her some respect.
And Brenner to his credit, is like, no, you're right, fair. Those were low blows. I apologize.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe don't hurl insults at the person you are asking for help, even if they owe you something.
Yeah. After Brenner ejects himself from the house and takes off, Rabbit then also offers a bit of an olive branch, apparently, to Dani here, and is like, you want to see me hack into the security at the fortress now that
like
Elliott's done his work?
Rabbit was ready to go.
And Dani recognizes, number one, she's never been invited to do this. This is something Rabbit only does with people she trusts implicitly. This is very much her being like, hey, this is me making a peace offering. And Dani accepts, basically. She's like, yes, absolutely. I would love to see the magic at work.
This is cool.
And we get to see Rabbit kind of do her little machine magic.
Rabbit's thing is so funny and so full of personality that I loved it very much. She was like humming a little tune. Oh, sorry. She had to pick the correct album.
Yep. Of one of three artists who she listens to.
So she's gotta get the vibe just right,
yep.
Right? So she instinctually chooses some music, turns it on, and then she's like singing to the monitors and the cameras as she takes them over, and she's talking to them.
Yeah, Dani,
like they're little people that she's collecting, little items.
Dani actually likens it to the way Mia was talking to the chickens in a previous chapter, and is like, "Oh, that's where Mia gets it." Okay.
Yeah, talking to them like they're pets.
Yeah,
like, "Oh, aren't you pretty? Yes, you're mine now. Come here." And it just made me smile.
Yeah,
the whole thing was adorable.
We straight up see her hack into most of the fortress security. While she's working on it, though, Dani ends up getting a call on her burner phone.
Yes.
And it's Elliott. And all he says is just help. And Dani's knee-jerk reaction is something's gone wrong. But then she hears the three ex-wives in the background chatting. And then one of them's like, oh, Emmett. And she's like, oh, I see what's going on.
Oh, a charming young man is stuck with three divorced women. She needs to
go bail him out.
Yeah, he needs saving. She needs to go.
And so Mia gives her a look like, is something wrong? And she's like, she literally laughs and is like, no, I just need to go back Elliott up. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And that's pretty much where the chapter
and that's where it ends, is her going to save poor Elliott from these women.
From the three fates. So
yes.
That's our chapter.
I'm curious where our next chapter is going to start.
Well, probably with her going to rescue Elliott from the three ex-wives. And I would assume maybe finally having that conversation about the T-shirt she intended to have.
Yeah. Let me rephrase. I wonder how saving him is going to help or hinder their relationship.
Who's to say?
I don't know. I think it'll be fun.
Maybe we'll find out as we read chapter 14, which you'll want to do over the next week.
Yeah.
In the meantime, of course, as always, you can give us a little rating and a review on your podcatcher of choice.
Because we appreciate those very much.
Yeah, you can also send us missives via the mode of social media.
Absolutely. Pick your favorite. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Goodreads, Blue Sky, and I think that's it.
Yeah, Rabbit definitely hasn't hacked our email either, so you can send us an email.
Yes, we are thereadalong@gmail.com.
And with that said, as always, we love you very much, and we'll see you next time.
I think it'll be cute and flirty.
Thank you for joining us on The Read Along with your hosts, Anita and Scott Bourgeois. All Read Along music is by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Cover art is by Aaron Beaver. Be sure to join us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Read Along, and check out our group on Goodreads.com.